All right, let's try that again with internet this time. So we had a very good market structure with Bitcoin. We were pushing, we had broken the all-time high, and we were doing very well after Powell's speech. And then a whale on a Sunday dumped 24,000 Bitcoin in one clip. And what he did was he actually broke the market cycle. Why do I say that? Because we were in a market cycle of higher lows and higher highs. And then the problem is when he sold, he gave us a lower low. And now the question is whether the market cycle is broken because of this one whale selling, or whether this is just a glitch and there's nothing to talk about. Because you know what charts say is, forget about the reasons why. If the market cycle breaks and the charts look like the market cycle is broken, then you got to just assume that the market cycle is broken. And that's what's happening now. So we'll talk about that. Also, what I want to talk about quite urgently is I want to talk about this correction that everyone's predicting for September. It's become like the consensus trade, and the consensus trade is that we're going to dip sometime in September. I'm going to show you today why that correction is actually cancelled, and why this change in market cycle also changed the September correction, and we're not going to get the September correction that everyone is already forecasting. So listen, take two. If that sounds good to you, thanks for coming back. Let's get the show on the road. There's a lot to do today. Let's get going. All right, welcome back. Second time lucky. Hopefully we can get second time lucky. Guys, do me a favor here, because we had to restart the stream. A lot of people think we disappeared. If you guys smash the like button, you'll tell the algo that we're back and we're live and we're bringing you all this amazing news, and then that will get the show distributed. Now, that's the best that you guys can do for me. We're trying to fix the internet here. Everyone says, use Starlink, use Starlink. We don't have Starlink in South Africa. If we had Starlink in South Africa, I'd definitely be on Starlink, but we're not. We unfortunately beholden to South African service providers. All right, guys, there's lots to talk about today. The September correction, which I think is going to be cancelled because of this change in market structure, because of this whale that came into the market and actually sold 24,000 Bitcoin in one clip on a Sunday night. Now, who the hell does that? I mean, as Scott Melker said, he said, how mentally incapable do you have to be? And the story actually gets much deeper, which I'll actually show you much deeper than this mental incapability that this guy has actually showed us. So guys, I'm going to bring you all the alpha. I need you guys to please do me a favor. Let's try and get everybody back. We had 2,000 people in our chat before. Now we are back. Now we're back at 1,000 people. Let's try and get everybody back here. All right, so let's talk about what actually happened. So we had Jackson Hole on Friday. Jackson Hole on Friday was a big day. Powell gave us everything that we wanted. He basically said, look, it's all about the jobs market now. It's not about inflation anymore. They even moved the inflation target. And he put us on track for a 85% chance of a rate cut. And remember, before Friday, everybody was scared of the fact that maybe there'd be no rate cuts in September. Well, Powell came out dovish. And in his dovishness, we're now back at 85% chance for a rate cut in September. And I mean, I guess that what we're experiencing now is pretty similar to every other Jackson Hole, or specifically the last couple of Jackson Holes where Powell actually was dovish. In last year, Powell was actually dovish at Jackson Hole, and after Jackson Hole, we had a slight dip. And this is something that I want you guys to remember when we talk about the market structure today and how the market structure has changed. So let's actually go into that market structure story and exactly what happened. So I think we need to look at the ETH chart, because the ETH chart is the one that actually tells the whole story. And what the story is here is that you can see that ETH was about to break structure. In fact, it put on the daily, it put on a wick in past the all-time high. And then we started to get a dump. And the dump was actually caused by Bitcoin, right? So ETH was doing well because Bitcoin was doing okay. And then we started to get this dump. Now, the reason for the dump is something that I think we need to talk about. And if you analyze the reason for the dump here, basically what it was one single whale on a Sunday night in August when everybody's still on vacation. So you're talking about low liquidity weekends, dumping 24,000 Bitcoin in a single clip. Now, this is not a normal seller. This is like a whale. This whale has had this. He's had these Bitcoin. He's got 152,000 Bitcoin, and he's been holding this Bitcoin since I think like many years ago. So the Bitcoin OG received 100,000 Bitcoin 7 years ago, and what he's doing now is crazy. He's dumping the Bitcoin and he's switching the Bitcoin into ETH, which is doing crazy things for the market structure. Why? Because he's clearly rotating from Bitcoin to ETH, but as he's doing that, he's breaking down the Bitcoin market structure, and he's taking us from higher lows to lower lows, basically on the Bitcoin chart. And I mean, as I said before, you can argue that this is just one whale, and one whale doesn't change the market structure. But what a real chartist will tell you is that it's actually not about the reason why. It's just about what the chart actually prints. And now the market structure of this chart is printed has put in the first lower low. What this whale seems to be doing, he had a whole lot of ETH long leverage positions on Hyperliquid, and he landed up making a lot of money on those ETH long leverage positions. And then what he seems to have done is he seems to have said, look, I want out of the leveraged ETH long positions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell my spot Bitcoin, $24,000 worth of spot Bitcoin, 2.7 billion. And I'm going to switch those Bitcoin into ETH. So you can kind of see the wallets over here. And he's basically dumped those. But then what he's gone and done is he's actually gone and used that money to actually land up buying ETH. And so, and once he bought the ETH, he went and he staked the ETH. And so what that means is that he's probably switching from Bitcoin to ETH. And it seems like he wants to do this in the long term. And the reason why I say it seems like he wants to do this for the long term is because it's not like he kept the ETH on the exchange looking to sell the ETH. He actually moved the ETH and started staking the ETH. And you can basically see that if you actually follow the charts. And so the net effect here was that you've got the Bitcoin price chart breaking down on the weekly. And then you've got ETH, which is holding strong and actually put in the all-time high, because now ETH seems to have become conflicted. Because on the one hand, there's a lot of buying pressure. On the other hand, Bitcoin's going down. And if Bitcoin is going down, and Bitcoin is like the master, basically no altcoin can rally if Bitcoin is going down. And so the market's the market structure is very confused. If you look at the ETH BTC chart, which is this chart over here. So look at this ETH BTC chart. The ETH BTC chart is actually on an absolute tear and actually broke a 4-year downtrend structure, right? So if you look here, it actually broke a 4-year downtrend structure. This ETH BTC chart actually broke. So very, very, very weird in terms of what the market structure is actually doing. And in a way, this is the healthiest thing that could happen to the market structure. So in one way, not great. Why not great? Because he broke down the Bitcoin market structure over here, and now Bitcoin's putting in lower lows. But in another way, actually very, very, very good for the market structure, specifically if you hold altcoins. Now, hear me out as to why I'm saying that. If you look at what is happening now, the ETH price is going up and the Bitcoin price is going down. And so what that's doing is it's doing something to the charts. The one hand, what it's doing to the charts is it's pushing the ETH BTC chart up to break out of a 4-year downtrend line. On the other hand, what it's doing is because ETH is going up and Bitcoin is going down, you're getting this dip in Bitcoin dominance, which is now continuing. So let's actually go to the BTC.D chart, and you guys can actually look at the Bitcoin dominance chart over here. Help me with the likes here, guys. Help me with the likes. I'm trying to get everybody back here. Look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily. I mean, just look at that chart. That chart is pretty much falling off a cliff, and it's starting to resemble the charts that happened just before the massive alt seasons, right? Now, what we're looking for in this part of the cycle is we're looking for the Bitcoin dominance to go down even when the Bitcoin price goes down, which seems to be exactly what's happening over here. So you look at the charts over here, you're saying, look, the Bitcoin price is going down and the Bitcoin dominance continues to go down. That is reflective of the last part of the market cycle. This is 2021. And what you can see in the last part of the market cycle, the part where all the gains are made, is that when we get corrections, the Bitcoin price goes down, but the Bitcoin dominance actually goes up, which shows that the market has shifted the mindset very much into altcoins, right? And I mean, you can see it also in the seasonal charts. You can see that in Q3, as we're currently tracking, there's a few days left of Q3. Bitcoin's got a 4.21% gain in Q3, and you've got an 83% gain on ETH, which basically takes us to, if you look at 2021 and you look at Q4 2021, you got this situation where Bitcoin gives us a Q4 with 5%, but ETH actually outperforms Bitcoin in the returns of that last quarter. And so what you're getting is you're getting a crazy situation where one whale seems to have destroyed the Bitcoin or the main market cycle. But if you're looking at altcoins, actually, this is actually a very, very, very bullish sign because it shows that you've got a bid. And again, the way he did this was he sold Bitcoin. One whale went and sold Bitcoin and actually landed up buying ETH, which is kind of indicative of exactly what we want in the market cycle. Then you've got another chart which actually brings us to the same kind of conclusion. And that chart over there is the SOL-ETH chart, right? So if I look at the SOL-ETH chart, what you'll see about the SOL-ETH chart is it's playing out exactly as per this drawing that we spoke about the other day. And I said to you guys, I think what's going to happen here is at some point, SOL's basically going to start consolidating, and then it's going to land up actually going up. And so what you're getting now is you're getting to a point where the SOL chart has completely broken down. We're getting this up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up over here, slightly upwards, slight upward trend. But then what we can expect is we can expect a big rotation into Solana. Now, if you need the news that's actually drive or to justify why the charts are moving like the charts are moving, the news actually came out exactly like I predicted on one of my previous shows. You'll remember that I did this show where I broke down the Joe McCann story. I said, I'm not supposed to be saying this, major inside information on Solana, right? And in that show, I broke down the story about Joe McCann's treasury company kind of being, you could say sabotaged. I don't know if sabotaged is such a good word, but you can kind of say sabotaged. And what Joe said, he said, you'll see a new Solana DAT announced shortly. The one thing I recommend doing when you find out who's behind it is to follow the money. And on that show, we said that there's going to be a treasury company, a fund, and a trading company behind it. And we said that the treasury company, the trading company, and the other company were going to be Galaxy, Multicoin, and Jump Crypto. And now the news has come out that these guys are actually raising a $1 billion digital asset treasury company, which is going to go out into the market and actually buy Solana. And so what that's done is it's basically stabilized the Solana chart, and people are starting to get a little bit more bullish on the Solana chart, right? And you can see it. You can see that over here. What we got on Solana, if you look at the weekly close, is we got a weekly close which is the highest weekly close actually since January. It's the first time that we're getting like a big Solana weekly close like the one here that we just got. We're going back to the highest weekly close since January, which is pretty much a good chart. The one other thing that we should look at here is we should look at when the ETH price actually started moving, right? The ETH price started moving when there was a digital asset treasury company which was announced, and that put Wall Street bids into the chart. And that's exactly where we are today. You got the new treasury company announced. It's a big one. It's one with, Galaxy, Multicoin Capital, etc., etc. And now hopefully the SOL chart is actually going to turn around. So we're in a very, very, very interesting scenario where we have the SOL chart turning and the ETH chart turning while the Bitcoin chart is breaking down. And at the same time, you've got the Bitcoin dominance starting to break down because of all this price action. And that's put us into a very, very, very interesting piece of the market. Hopefully, we can avoid the September correction, which is what I'm going to show you in a second. 𝗙𝗧, how are we doing on internet? Do we have internet? Is it all?
We're good.
Guys, I don't see the chat here because the chat, I've got the wrong chat. It doesn't matter. It's not a big thing. Not a big thing. All right, so the other thing that's doing, by the way, is this Hyperliquid whale bringing so much money onto Hyperliquid. And as I said, he opened an ETH leverage long, realized that he didn't want to be in a leverage long, so he closed the leverage long in massive profit, took and then swapped his Bitcoin into ETH, right? And he did this all on Hyperliquid. And I think that's a massive, massive, massive push for Hyperliquid. It's a massive endorsement for Hyperliquid because what you're starting to see is that the big traders, the guys that have got 100,000 Bitcoin and 200,000 Bitcoin and 50,000 Bitcoin, they're actually choosing Hyperliquid as their preferred trading platform, which is a long way away from where we were in any previous cycle, right? It's always been the centralized exchanges. It's always been the Bybit, the Binances, the BitGets. Now we're in a position where these guys are actually opting to trade on Hyperliquid. And that's an extremely, extremely, extremely bullish look for Hyperliquid. If you look at the last 24 hours, you look at this, like how much Hyperliquid represents in terms of revenue relative to the other exchanges. And you can see that Hyperliquid is actually becoming a real powerhouse. Now, in terms of stats, you know that Hyperliquid is doing buybacks, right? So they take their revenue and they use their revenue to actually do buybacks. Someone did an analysis here. Do I have the analysis? I had the analysis. Man. So is it maybe one of these analyses? So we had the analysis. Researchers, if you're watching, just send me the chart quickly. Let me just get the chart for you guys to show you how quickly, if Hyperliquid carries on buying their tokens as quickly as they're currently buying their tokens, it means that they'll end up buying the entire token supply in 3 years. Can you imagine the situation that we had? Researchers, if you're watching, if you could just send that to me quickly. So we've got revenue forecast from Hyperliquid that if they carry on like this, the simple buy pressure on the token is going to basically explode this token. And this is what 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗏 actually spoke about today. He was speaking at in Japan at WebEx, and he basically said at WebEx he was forecasting Hyperliquid at 5,000. That's 1,000x from here. I mean, I don't know, that's 100x from here. That's like a crazy number. But that's what he's predicting. He's predicting Hyperliquid with 126x upside if they carry on actually buying their tokens like this. So again, let's just talk about, someone says change your Wi-Fi. Okay, that's the old chat. I guess this Wi-Fi is fine, Hardest?
Okay, no.
It's okay. Amazing. So again, just to recap, one whale crashes the Bitcoin market on a Sunday night, does a switch into ETH. By doing that, destroys the Bitcoin chart over here, brings us a lower low into the Bitcoin chart, makes Bitcoin dominance fall off the cliff whilst the Bitcoin price is going down, which is extremely bullish for alts. Solana is now stable, and the Solana chart now looks like, again, it's indicative of some kind of alt season. And so we've got like this perfect market structure for people that are holding alts, right? Except for one thing. And that is that we are due this massive correction that's supposed to happen in September. And the question is whether this correction that's happening in September is actually as big a correction as it should be. And I think, spoiler alert, there is a big chance that this correction that everybody's forecasting in September, what the analysts are taking as gospel, which is now becoming the consensus trade, this big correction happening in September, well, what if it's not going to happen anymore? What if it's completely cancelled? And I don't mean that this time is different, because I'm the last person in the world that's going to come here and say this time is different, because I know that every time is exactly the same. But I think that the analysts are actually looking at the wrong thing. Let me show you exactly what I mean, right? Let me show you exactly what I mean. So we've got, Hardest, can you come and bring me this chat? Because I've got like the other chat, and I love seeing my people here in the chat. Hardest is going to bring us the chat here. So how do I get the new chat here? Yeah, but Hardest is going to bring us he's sick today, but yeah, here we go.
That's not YouTube.
Yeah, there we go. There's your YouTube. Let's try and get the chat. Then I can see everybody in the chat, which is amazing. I hate doing shows when I don't see the people. You know what I mean? There we go. I've got the chat. Amazing. I can see you guys. All right, let's talk about this September correction. I don't have a list. Come on, close some tabs, bro. Buffering. I shouldn't be buffering anymore. I think that those days are finished. Internet sucks again. No. Does the internet suck again? Okay, let's hope we can get it. We can get this right. All right, let's talk about this September correction. So everybody's talking about this September. Is there no internet? Again.
Moving, but it's not moving.
Okay, hopefully we'll have enough. It won't help if I close some tabs, eh? That's not going to help us.
No.
Oh, well, let's try. All right, so let's talk about the September correction. All the analysts are basically saying that this September correction is gospel. It's going to happen. It's become the consensus trade. Even the best even the best analysts, the people that we trust the most, Ben Cowan, he says, look, I've mentioned on YouTube for a while that there's going to be, that Bitcoin's going to exhibit weakness. He kind of says that Bitcoin will test the bull market support band in September. That's about $105,000 or $106,000, right? That's pretty much what he's basically saying over here. Jason Pizzino also says that his model is basically showing that we're going down again, and we're going to get this correction. And look, guys, I don't blame them. And the reason why I don't blame them is because if you look at the September seasonality and you look at all the previous cycles, I mean, all the previous cycles have basically given us massive corrections in September, right? In November, we had a 29% correction. In September, we had a 25% correction. So we know for sure that there's some kind of September seasonality. Even when we look just basically at this chart over here, the one thing we know is that September is the only month where the median and the mean returns for Bitcoin are actually negative. So we know that September is not actually a good month for Bitcoin. On top of that, we're also getting the options buyers. They are preparing themselves for a big September correction. You can see that the put-call ratio is the thing here. The put-call ratio is going up, which means that more people are buying negative options than are buying positive options. Hardest, can I get my viewers back? My view count back. All right, so, yeah. Okay, so with that in mind, let's actually look at the September correction, because I think these guys are all wrong. And I'll show you what I mean by the fact that I think these guys may be missing something. Maybe the September correction is not about the month of the year. Maybe it's not about September, right? Maybe the September correction is actually about a completely different pattern, which is the pattern that I want to show you guys right now. It's a pattern that I saw over here, which basically says dips happen in the Bitcoin cycle, which mirror the previous cycles. And it's noted that weakness begins 480 days after the halving. So it's not necessarily around September, but it's around 480 days after the halving. So if we look at where we are now relative to the halving, and I'll actually show it to you guys here, right? If we look at the halving, we are about 493 days since the last Bitcoin halving. Now, why is that an important number to look at? Because if you look at the Bitcoin halvings, what you'll realize is that exactly 484 days after both Bitcoin halvings, we got a Bitcoin market top. So this guy over here, he's talking about 480 days. If we look 480 days after each halving, we got a market top. Now, the thing about the Bitcoin halvings is that the Bitcoin halvings have been moving back. So the halving in 2016 was in July. Then the halving moved to May. And then in 2024, the halving moved to April. And so what you're realizing is that the cycle is automatically moving 1 month back every single time, right? The first halving was July 2016, and you can see that halving over here. The second one was May 2020, and you can see it halving over here. And the third one was April 24, and you can see it halving over here. The one pattern that has actually held true throughout these halvings is that you've got 484 days or 480 days between the halving and the Bitcoin tops, right? You can't argue the data. The only thing is that if you take 480 days, which landed up being in September 2021 from the halving, if you take 480 days from the last Bitcoin halving, it takes you to August 2025. And in fact, it takes you to more or less where we are now, right? In fact, I asked ChatGPT, I said, ChatGPT, how many days since the last Bitcoin halving? And ChatGPT said, we're 493 days since the last Bitcoin halving, which would mean that if we followed the last cycle, we are between 7 and 13 days into the correction already, right? Now, let's have a look at what the Bitcoin chart looks like with that in mind. Let's work on the assumption that we topped here. Let's not work on the assumption. We can actually see it here. We topped at 124 on August the 14th, which was about 10 days ago, which would make the case that this top was about, now we're 493. You go back 10 days or 11 days, which would take us to about 482, which would take us exactly to the date. Let's actually bring that chart over here so we can actually have a look at it. It takes us exactly to the Bitcoin top, right? So again, we are 493 days away from the Bitcoin halving. That's today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days. Go 11 days back from 493 days, which means 481 days was the Bitcoin top, which is exactly what happened in the two previous cycles. 484 days. 484 days, we hit the Bitcoin top. Then what we did in both of these things, we had a correction. In 2017, we got a 29% correction, which took 6 days to bottom. In 2021, we got a 14-day correction. We got a 14-day correction to bottom, and we went down 25%. So you can see a couple of things here. You can see that the top was 484 days or 483 days before the halving. Then you can see that we had corrections. You can see that the corrections were pretty steep. They were like pretty deep corrections. And then you can see that the corrections actually become less and less and less deep. This one was a 29% correction. This one was a 25% correction. Now let's have a look at where we are today. We are 493 days. If you assume that, you could almost say that we're 10 days into the new correction. If we are 10 days into the new correction, and that was the high, and it does feel like we are in correction territory, we're already 11% down, which means that this September correction that everybody is waiting for may have caught us off guard, and we may be in the middle of that September correction. In fact, we may be 13 days in or 11 days into September correction, and we may be 11.05% down. So I'm not the only one who thinks that, by the way. There are a couple of other indicators which kind of show exactly the same thing. The first one is, if you look at the fear and greed, the one thing you want to see about corrections is that you take fear and greed and you go from extreme greed and then you go all the way down into extreme fear, somewhere around the 20s, right? So let's go, let's look at what happened in 2021. We went all the way back down to 20 and 24. If you look at the fear and greed index now, we've gone from about 75 or 80, and we're already midway down the fear and greed curve, right? We're at 47, which means that if we carry on for another 11 days and Bitcoin corrects by another, say, 10%, we will get the fear and greed down back to 20, and that brings us firmly back into correction territory. The other thing is, and I heard Anthony Pompliano on CNBC the other day, and he kind of says the same thing. Just listen to what he said on CNBC.
A little bit of a reversal, but maybe just a little bit. Well, I think that Bitcoin is a very volatile asset, and what we know is in bull markets, usually there are these drawbacks, but the drawbacks historically have been 30% drawdowns, and these haven't been 30%. These have been more like 10, 15% drawdowns. And so what I think we're watching is a market that's maturing, institutions are coming in, it's getting bigger, and so what you're starting to see is kind of muted volatility, and that means that people who are hoping Bitcoin's going to go to $400,000 or $500,000 in a bull market, this cycle is probably not going to happen, but also people who think that you're going to get, kind of 85, 90% drawdowns in the bear markets. That's probably not going to happen either.
Okay, so if neither of those things are happening.
Okay, so long story short, it could be that we're just not getting as aggressive corrections, and actually we are in the beginning or in the midst of the correction. In fact, if you look at the historical data, if you look at the previous data, and you look at how deep and how long these corrections lasted, this one was a 6-day correction, this one was a 14-day correction. So far, we've had 11 days. I mean, if we're going to go 6, 14, add 8, we've got 19 days, another week and a half left of this correction. And then we get this correction over and done with. Now, one of the things that you can see in the previous corrections is that we actually got this lower high over here, which there's the first one and there's the second one. So maybe we are already in the middle of this correction. And this correction that Ben Cowan and all the other guys are talking about has just been moved slightly to the left. Why? Because the halving itself has been moved slightly to the left, and because it's not a September seasonality correction, but it's just a correction that happens 480 days after the halving. Maybe that's the scenario over here. That's the scenario that we've got to keep our eyes and ears open, peeled for. Also, we know that in this correction in the market, we know that the Bitcoin dominance chart is the one that actually breaks down, and it breaks down Bitcoin dominance goes down whilst Bitcoin goes down, which means that for the last phase of the cycle, the altcoins actually perform better than Bitcoin on the actual downtrends. So yeah, let me know what you think of that. Let me know exactly what you think of that. I mean, it is a scenario that we must be looking for. We've got to be looking for what's going to happen in the market structure. I wouldn't be surprised if we landed up doing this. So down, slightly down, maybe one more leg down to 107, 105, and then end of correction, because then we're down from top to bottom. We would probably be down 15%, 20%. 15%, which kind of makes sense given where the cycle's at. So that's pretty much what I'm making my base case at the moment. That's what I'm making my base case at the moment. And for as long as the Bitcoin dominance keeps dropping, I think we're in safe hands. I think we're in safe hands. What you'll probably see at the end of the correction, if this is right, is that at the end of the correction, the Bitcoin dominance will shoot up again, because that's when people capitulate and they go back into Bitcoin and they've had enough pain and torture, so to speak. All right, so that is that's the Bitcoin dominance cycle. Let's talk about a couple of other things. First thing is, I did post in Frontrunners for you guys. I told you guys I'd post around some crazy stinky memes, and I think maybe just a quick update. So there is an address which seems to be buying MetaFox like crazy, like one address buying all these, bridging them through dBridge, and then depositing them into a couple of other addresses. Looks like it's the same buyer or buyers that are doing that. And so, I don't know, I'm watching this MetaFox meme. It's a very low meme. And by the way, I do own a couple of these MetaFox memes. Don't know the team, never spoken to them. I bought these tokens on the open market. So just, no one can accuse me of, oh, you're involved. I'm not involved in this meme at all. In fact, I just bought on the open market like everybody else, but I'm just watching this price action or this buying action on chain, and it doesn't look natural. It looks like there's someone who's buying a big portion of the tokens and distributing it into multiple wallets. You can go and do your own research. I'll leave the links for you guys below. I did drop them into Frontrunners earlier. Also, two other memes that I'm watching. I don't know if you guys saw this. I was watching this. It's fucking crazy what this green dildo. I mean, you see the green dildo actually made it to the golf. I mean, unbelievable. These guys have taken like a real world meme and like this. The green dildo is everywhere. Anyway, very low market cap. It's a very, very, very low market cap meme coin. So I'm not advocating that you go and bounce into it. $4.7 million market cap, but this dildo is everywhere. The other one that's probably worth watching is Nobody Sausage, because that one is like back on the climb again. So just, I mean, again, I don't usually talk about memes, but I am actually watching these three memes, which is, I don't know, it's unusual for me, but worth watching. A couple of other things. So those of us that got into the 𝗬𝗕𝗕𝗓 bot, we've got a decision to make now, right? Because this bot was very, very, very far down. And now you can see the bot starting to make money again, right? So the bot is now 7.4% up. There are a lot of you that were reaching out to me. You all reached out to me like, look, the 𝗬𝗕𝗕𝗓 bot was down. It was down 20%. And now it's up 7.41%. Now you got to make a call as to whether you trust this bot or you don't trust this bot. And kind of like if you want out, this is a great opportunity to actually get out of this bot. If you don't trust the bot, this is a great opportunity for you to get out, because you can see that the bot's now positive and positive 8%. So you're back in the money. If you are going to get out, I would take this money and I would put it into one of the Pionex bots, because the Pionex bots are absolutely killing it. And what I'm going to do tomorrow, for those of you who want to do this, straight after the show, I'm going to do a bot workshop and I'm going to set up some new Pionex bots, and I'm going to change some of the settings on these Pionex bots. Why? Because some of these Pionex bots were only set up for a $5,000 ETH, and yesterday ETH was actually knocking on that 5,000. Like, look at this bot over here. It's got a range of 2,400 to 5,000. And the question is now, we're almost at 5,000, which means it's going to stop buying after 5,000. So we're going to have to make some changes to the bot. So what we're going to do tomorrow, straight after the show, there'll be an open Zoom call line for everybody, and we can jump on and we can actually adjust the Pionex bots. Remember, if you want to follow the Pionex bots, there's links below here to all of our bots, and those are extremely profitable. Regarding the 𝗬𝗕𝗕𝗓 bot, if you were down and now you're up again and you were waiting for an opportunity to get out, I'm going to be taking a little bit of my money out of this one just because not because I don't trust the bot. I'm just making so much more money on the Pionex bots. For me, that's a much better thing to do. Also, guys, remember, if you want to join our Bybit World Series of Trading, there's $10 million up for grabs. It's a trading competition with Bybit. What you do then is you open an account on Bybit over here, use our link, and then sign up to our World Series of Trading team. Generally, the bigger the team, the more chance you have of winning, right? And every other year, we have been one of the biggest teams. We've been like the first, second, or third biggest team, which gives us a massive, massive, massive chance of actually winning this competition. So if you want to do that, join us here. There's a link below. Join us in the competition. Otherwise, apologies for the internet issues. We'll try and fix them. Hopefully we won't have those issues again. They caught us on Friday and they caught us again today. Killer. You spend the whole time creating a show and preparing the whole day, researchers, myself, and then gets destroyed because of the internet. Anyway, hopefully we can fix it before tomorrow. See you guys again tomorrow. Remember, we have a date tomorrow. Straight after the show is the bot workshop. Don't forget, we'll be here tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.